considering these potential impacts on Savannah, Georgia, on our naval facility at Kings Bay, on our Barrier Island chain, Cumberland Island, Sapelo Island, Tybee Island, it is vital in my view, and I know I've discussed this with the chairman as well, that this upcoming infrastructure bill includes significant investments in coastal resilience to help communities in coastal Georgia and coastal communities across the country prepare for increased flooding, worse tropical storms, increased storm surge events. Can you speak to the kind of infrastructure that will help communities like Savannah, Georgia, adapt to what's coming?
So that's a great question. We have a whole host of solutions, at least from the engineering and science community. And then I would suggest that we, for every specific location, we need to do a deep study on the hazards that these areas are facing and what sort of solutions need to be taken now. And one point here also I would like to make is that the risks we are facing are dynamic, not static. So we need to have strategies that are adaptive in time, meaning that some of the actions we need to take now, and but we need to also have planned for sustained funding, so that as we hear more about from the earth science community and climatologists about the trends of the future climate, we are able to make decisions on the go and improve the state of infrastructure further. The type of solutions that might be available now for coastal communities can range from nature-based systems to flood walls and levees, to improving the stormwater collection systems, to elevating homes and or buying out some of the houses in the floodplains. And the good news is that the benefit to cost ratio for many of these measures are very high, and it's highly justified to take those actions.
Thank you, Dr. Shafizadeh. And with the chairman's permission, just one final question for you, Dr. Cletus, please. The impacts of climate change and these events will not be uniformly distributed. Low-income communities, vulnerable communities, communities in the floodplain, communities who already live in under-resourced neighborhoods, dilapidated housing, will be more severely impacted. I'm thinking, for example, of the Geechee communities along Georgia's coastline, descendants of West African slaves brought to Georgia and other parts of the Southeast to work in coastal plantations, who still endure a high level of poverty. These communities are going to be hit the hardest. What can we do to ensure that our investments in coastal resilience help and protect those who are most vulnerable? Dr. Cletus.
Thank you, Dr. Ossoff. I think you raise a very, very important point, and what's most important is that we understand that we need to engage with these communities directly. They need to be at the table as solutions are being developed that will benefit them, because they have very good ideas of what can work and what can't. As you pointed out, there are places like St. Simon's and Tybee Island where we have thousands of homes that are at risk from chronic inundation. We have places like Brunswick where nearly 1/2 of the residents are African American, nearly 1/3 live below the national poverty line. It's projected to have more than 800 homes at risk of chronic flooding, which would put 20% of its property tax base at risk. So we have to make sure that we are deliberately allocating funding, programs, and policies to these communities, reducing the barriers to access. Many of these communities are underinsured. They're not able to navigate the bureaucratic red tape to get assistance. Recent research has shown that FEMA funding is disproportionately inequitable along racial and income lines. This is very, very troubling. We need to be tracking this data to make sure that the people who need access to these resources are first in line.
Thank you, Dr. Cletus. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, and also Senator Van Hollen for